So, I guess we're gonna do the 1890 Prentice video finally. I kind of looked around and tried to get some good information on this lathe, and I tried to present a good, because you have to kind of step back in time when you think about how old this thing is. I mean, this thing is old, and every time I did a little bit of research, I had more information, so like, holy shit, this thing is old. We're gonna go on a walkthrough. I'm gonna show you what number this lathe is, kind of what time period in history this came from, because shit was happening. This is pre-ball bearing. This is pre-tool steel. This thing is pre-roller bearing. It's pre-Joe block. It was manufactured pre-Joe block. So you have to take all of that into account when you look at it, and that this thing, over 100 years later, is still making me money and repairing modern pieces of equipment and making little things every day in my shop. I still make money with this thing. So it shows a true testament to what they had made back then and the craftsmanship that went in it. All right, here she is. So this is the 1890. It's a double gear, back gear driven lathe. So you've got a high and low. When you engage back here, you engage low, and you have to pull out a little bolt to disengage, and it'll run this really slow. It's got all its labels, all the different threads you can cut, and I've still got every single gear that it ever came with to cut whatever thread you need. So this is a rise and fall carriage, because this is pre-tool steel, right? So right here, that have a lever that screw up, and it can't your cross slide, because the tools were wearing out so quick to get any accuracy. You ground your tool, and your tool would grind away considerably faster than carbide. Now this is all new Aloris carbide, and I modernized it with new stuff, obviously. But the tailstock, this lathe, when you run it and you run one of these old ones versus the new ones just feel like cheap junk compared to these, because this tailstock was like 100 pounds, and it's nice. It slides nice. The ways on this machine are good for 130 years old. I mean, they've got a couple little pock marks from beatings, but honestly, yeah, I mean, who am I to complain? It still holds good tolerance. I can still cut within tenths if you need it, but this isn't really a tenth shop. You want that kind of stuff, you go somewhere else. So, but here is the meat and taters of her. This is machine number 5, number 478, and it was September 4th. You know, you can't see that. 1888. This is pretty beat up, but patented Jan 1890. So that's her. This is machine number 5, right? So this is pre-Joe block. So when you think this thing was produced, and they produced a lot of these, machine number 5 going down the line. That's probably a model number. But if you think, to keep things accurate, everything stayed, every little part of this machine is labeled, if it would focus. So some poor bastard 100 years ago had to carve a little 5 in the side of this bolt, and that's on every fastener on this thing. Everything is labeled number 5. So I don't know. If you look up the research of Henley lathes, different lathes, when these guys were building stuff to high tolerance and number, everything kind of had to stay in the line down production. There wasn't a lot of interchanging parts, just because it's pre-Joe block. They had their own set of gauges in the shops, you know, and that was proprietary. I mean, the shops weren't communicating. There was no really set standard of the inch. Every shop had their own standards, and it was hard for shops to work with one another because everybody had their own standard gauges to work on. So everything runs really smoothly. Your cross feed is a nice little pop. It's so classy. And then, you know, when you're done with your cut, you just give her a slap. Your Z feed is a friction clutch. You just tighten this clutch and she'll grab and she'll roll right along. It's got a Z-stop, so you can do multiple parts, cut the length. So it's got everything a modern engine lathe has today back in 1890. These were cream of the crop. And then Henleys came along, and the Henley lathes added a quick change gearbox. They were the first ones to do it, and a lot of they had a taper attachment. So Henley lathes was the next Mac Daddy, but this was the original Mac Daddy. Prentice Brothers, they were the highest priced lathe you could get. This was it, and this thing is still making me money today. This is just a honey. So I hope you liked the video. I still keep this thing running. A lot of guys are taking these lathes, these always old machines, and peeling the legs off for tables. Isn't that gross? I think that's disgusting. This thing, I paid $400 for it. I had the chance to get a South Bend Heavy 10 or this. I got this because it's $400 versus the Heavy 10 I was going to pay $5 grand for. But this gave me larger turning capacity. So versus, you know, a South Bend Heavy 10, you can't really beat that. But I got more turning capacity and diameter with this. And it's proven itself, and it's good. You can't take heavy cuts because it's belt driven. You gotta watch the bearings. It teaches you a lot. It's made me a better machinist having to run this old thing versus running the modern stuff. I've got a lot of little extra tips and tricks just from running this old stuff. You know, your bearings, you always gotta keep a feel in your bearings because she'll lock up on you. I've had her happen a couple times where I keep everything oiled otherwise. But other than that, it's great machine. Here we are, the 1880 Prentice, 14-inch lathe, still getting it. Just so you know, I was really setting the mood with this video. I was burning axe-hewn wood from 1880 by a French immigrant for you. So we were really setting the mood tonight for this video. Hope you liked it.